You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith.
Hey there, Sprouts. Today is Thursday, August 13th, 2020. Now, this week on the Catholic Sprouts podcast, we are talking about the 9th commandment, thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. And remember, covet means to desire to own or possess. And it is a sin to desire to own or possess any person in any way, because each person is a creation of God and a temple of the Holy Spirit. All week, we have been talking about how each person has a unique and a beautiful story. And whenever we feel this urge to possess or own someone else, we need to simply hear this person's story, find a way to get to know them better, so that through that we can be reminded that they are special to God and God has a beautiful story for them. So today we are going to move on to a saint who actually celebrated her feast day on Sunday. So we are going to talk about Saint Edith Stein. Saint Edith Stein is one of the most remarkable and interesting saints that we have, and what she wrote, particularly on what it means to be a woman, is still being studied and unpacked by many, many people in the church today. So Saint Edith Stein was born in 1891. So she was alive less than 100 years ago, and she was born in Germany. She also was born into a Jewish family. Her father died when she was still young, and her mother, who was a pillar of strength, a devout Jew, went to work to support the family. From a young age, it was clear that St. Edith Stein was incredibly smart. She was oftentimes the smartest person in her class, the smartest person in her room. She excelled through all of her academics. She started to pursue the life of a teacher on the highest academic levels. However, through all of this, she began to feel that she was too smart to believe in God, that all that God stuff was just superstition that people that weren't very smart believed. And she identified herself as an atheist. Now, an atheist is someone who does not believe in the existence of God. But St. Edith Stein lived during a very volatile period in Europe. Again, she was born in 1891. So in the beginning of the 1900s, she lived through World War I. And in World War I, many, many people lost their lives. At one point, a dear friend of hers was killed. He was a man, and he was married, and they were young. And St. Edith Stein thought, she really wanted to go and support this young wife, but she put it off for weeks because she thought, I already, all on my own, she was drowned. Edith Stein was so depressed and so sad that she couldn't imagine how this young wife was dealing who had lost her husband. She thought she would go there and just find her just wading through depression and misery. Well, eventually St. Edith Stein got brave enough and went to visit this young widow, but she was shocked at what she found. She found that this young woman who had lost her husband, yes, she was sad, but she was also filled with joy. And as St. Edith Stein asked her about this and how this could be, she explained that she was Christian, that her husband had loved Jesus Christ, that he had died loving Jesus Christ and believing in him, and she knew that they would be together in paradise one day. Well, this idea of joy amid loss and suffering, it baffled Edith Stein. And eventually she started to read the autobiography of St. Teresa of Avila. And that, combined with the joy that she had seen from her friend, struck her. She put down the autobiography of St. Teresa of Avila and said, "This is the truth." She knew from that moment that God was real, that God had been pursuing a relationship with her, and that God loved her. She soon was baptized and welcomed into the Catholic faith. She received Holy Eucharist, and from that day on, she strove to receive the Holy Eucharist every single day. Eventually, she discerned a call to the religious life, and she joined a Carmelite order where she took the name Sister Teresa Benedicta of the Cross. Now, remember, she lived in Germany. After World War I ended, soon on its heels was World War II. And during World War II, the Nazis came to power. And even though she was now a practicing Catholic, she was still ethnically a Jew. The sisters at the order in Cologne, Germany, where she had entered, they worried about her safety, so they moved her to Holland. But soon the Nazis were in Holland too. They found her. Even though she was a nun, they found her, they took her to Auschwitz. She traveled on the train there, and even while she was traveling, it's reported that she was filled with peace. While she was in this crowded cattle car with other Jewish people headed to their death at Auschwitz, she comforted them. She held them as they wept. She played with the children where their parents were elsewhere distraught. She was a pillar of peace, people said. Since she wasn't taken there till nearly the end of the war, when St. Edith Stein arrived in Auschwitz, she walked off the train and basically walked right into the gas chambers where she was executed. St. Edith Stein, during her years as a Carmelite nun, wrote a lot about what it means to be a woman, and she encourages all women to realize that we are uniquely and beautifully made. We aren't just like men. We're different. And our differences make all the difference. So St. Edith Stein had an incredible life. And if you have ever been tempted to think that maybe you're too smart to believe in God, maybe God doesn't exist, I want you to know that St. Edith Stein had those struggles too. And just because you have those struggles doesn't mean that you can't be a saint too. What matters is that we allow God to find us. She ran away from God for a long time, but he kept coming after her. Just like the Good Shepherd, he won't give up. So allow God to catch you, but pray through the intercession of St. Edith Stein that you too can come to a full and radical belief in the love of God for you.
That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God created you to be.
Just one more thing. We'd like to invite you to come and check out The Creed, which is a series for parents and children to use in the home during this uncertain time in the fall. It is an in-depth look at all that we believe, which we profess in the Nicene Creed each Sunday at Mass. It is made for the whole family, has some fun printables to go along with it. It will be very easy to use no matter which point you are with your own faith. And it is on sale right now for just $7 for the whole bundle, which will take you from September all the way up into Advent. So check the notes for this podcast episode for the direct link to find more details.